Hey everybody, welcome to a new video. It's been a long time since the last update on the Sweet Reads book club. So I'm gonna do a roundup of the book, which was Blvd Ultima. This is the book that we were all reading along. This is the reason why I really have a deep love for novels now. I was never really into fiction, guys, to be honest with you. I was always more into like self-help books and things that I could just sort of implement in my life right away. This book to me was a really amazing book. It was very sweet. It was very scary in a sense also, and I really loved how Antonio was telling his story. This was basically a coming of age story of a little boy who is growing up in the 1940s in a Catholic family, and his mom wants him to become a priest. I think it's really wonderful to want to explore other things and have questions and wonder and not just go by what you were told when you were, maybe a little kid, which is exactly what Antonio is going through. And, his parents have certain beliefs that are instilled in him, but he starts to live life and he starts to wonder, okay, if, how come God didn't come and save one of the characters in this book that got shot, for example? How come God didn't save him? Like, where was God when his uncle was almost dying and God was nowhere to be found? And not to say that God is not around, not at all. But the only point that I'm making with that statement is that he was wondering, he had all of these great big questions that he started to learn as he lived his life. And I think I connected with that so much because I start to see big revelations, or I have big aha moments quite often because I am searching for answers to questions that I have. And another thing that I thought was really interesting that I had never seen before, because you guys know I grew up Catholic, right? When someone would pass away, for a few days, you would hold ceremonies in a loved one's home, like in a relative's home, and we would pray for the person. We would pray the rosary. And I never really knew why we were praying for our deceased loved one. But in this book, the priest explains that people have different types of sins. For example, you have like a small sin or you have bigger sins. A small sin is called a venial sin. This is towards the end of the book, so just in case, disclaimers, if you haven't read Blvd Ultima, we're gonna go a little bit deeper into the book, just a little bit. Venial sins were small sins, like saying bad words or not going to the stations of the cross during Lent. If you died with a venial sin on your soul, you could not enter heaven until the sin was absolved by prayers or rosaries or masses from the family on earth. But if you died with a mortal sin on your soul, you could never enter heaven. Never. It was frightening to think of missing Mass on Sunday, then dying, and for that one mortal sin to go to hell forever. So if you die with a venial sin, you go to purgatory, and you don't leave purgatory until your family back at home has prayed the sin to go away, has prayed the sin out of your soul. So that to me was really interesting, just because I never knew why we prayed. I never knew the exact reason why we would pray rosaries when one of our loved ones would pass away. I never asked, and it wasn't until here that it explains why in the Catholic religion you pray for your loved ones. In case they do die with a sin, they're able to enter heaven. If not, they would be stuck in purgatory for eternity, and eternity is crazy when you think about it. Because it says here also that I thought was really interesting is that your soul, and we're only here on earth for a small period of time, but your soul lives on for eternity. And if your soul is going to endure purgatory or hell for eternity, it's going to be a very painful experience. I feel like it touches upon religion a lot in this book, and you don't necessarily have to be a believer or have faith in the Catholic religion to enjoy this book, because like I said, I am not a devout Catholic. I actually don't belong to any religion. So I'm only bringing these points up because I thought they were interesting to me, but not to debate anybody or what they believe, or, if you believe otherwise, or if you do believe this in the religion, I'm not bringing this up to debate that it's real or this is the truth. To me, it's just more of an understanding. That's something that I got a lot from this book, is just a little bit more understanding of the faith that I was raised in, or the religion that I was raised in. It's very sweet, it's very touching. You're going to learn a lot and see different perspectives, especially coming from a 6-year-old little boy who's growing up, and just for him to have that kind of thought process and experience all these things that he's going through. And I am in the process also of watching the movie. It's definitely, of course, not in detail as the book, but I really enjoyed Bless Me Ultima. Moving on to the next book that I read for March. This was actually February, and guys, remember when I told you at the end of the year, or the beginning of the year, I told you guys that I used to take forever to read? I am literally reading books like in 2 weeks now. All right, so this is the next book that I wanted to talk to you guys about. I just finished reading it. It's The Warrior Goddess Training by Heather Ash Amara, and I actually picked this up at the bookstore at the beginning of the month, or not April, but March. And whenever I go to the bookstore, I kind of just let my intuition guide me to the books that I feel like I need to read. And I haven't told you guys this, but I actually started going to a therapist because I have been trying to just kind of figure out why I am the way that I am, right? And I go through some tough moments. Sometimes I share them on here. And the reason that I started going was because I wanted to just explore more of who I am and why I am the way that I am. What beliefs do I have that have led my life to point A, to point B, to point C? So that's the reason why I wanted to go to therapy. And I finally made the commitment. I'm like, I need to work on myself. I'm gonna go see a therapist. So I am on the lookout for another one. I'm gonna look for another therapist that I feel more comfortable just being more vulnerable with. But it was a little strange, just because the moment that I sat, and this is how I know I needed therapy, because the moment that I sat on the chair, I started crying. I just started bawling out because I felt like, oh my gosh, I'm finally here, because I've been saying to myself that I'm going to go see a therapist. I'm going to go get some professional help. And for those of you that don't know, or if you haven't read my book, I talk a lot about the things that happened to me when I was a teenager, what I was going through, the things that I attempted as a teenager. And it's a lot of stuff that I feel like I have still buried inside of me. So finally, I went to see the therapist, and I sat down, and I was like just bawling my eyes off, and it made me feel uncomfortable just because I was so vulnerable in front of a stranger, and I had only just met her that one time, or that was the first time that we had met. So I felt very vulnerable and just like, okay, I'm opening up and showing a side of me that it's like nobody sees. Not even my husband really sees that side. Like nobody sees that side of me. And it's, so with that being said, I started to just, work on myself more, and I'm always constantly working on myself, and not like necessarily like working on myself to find happiness, because I am a happy person, but I also have certain beliefs that I feel are limiting, and I want to know why I started to believe that, and how I can change that, and how I can implement a new thought process, and how can I process also situations in a different way besides the way that I have been doing so. So I picked up the Warrior Goddess Training, and in this book it talks a lot about just finding your power as a woman, and just realizing the beautiful power that you have inside of you as a woman, and like how freaking blessed each and every one of us who are women, how blessed are we to be born women. And just the even simple fact that down here, our uterus, our vagina, that's a really beautiful area with a lot of power, and sometimes we don't even think that it's anything special. We're like, it's just a vagina. It just creates life. It's nothing special. Like this section here, oh yes, very powerful and very just powerful, okay, and very amazing. So, and I had several like big aha moments, like revelations, okay? So one of them was towards the end of the book, and it was just talking about using your voice. How many times have you wished that you said something when you didn't say something to someone in a situation, and then you're so mad at yourself. You go back to your car and you're like, ooh, I wish I could have said it like this. Oh, I wish he said something back so I can say it like this. I wish I would have defended myself. I wish I would have spoken. I wish I would have used my voice. Trust me, I have been in so many situations in my life where I was afraid to use my voice. And because of that, I felt a lot of anger inside of me. And I also felt a lot of resentment towards that person because I didn't use my voice. And I realized because of this book that I am uncomfortable with making people uncomfortable. So that's why I always try to say, and this is something that I'm changing, okay, because I already implemented it, and I'm going to tell you how I changed it and how I took action on this, because it's all about taking action. I would always try to make the person feel better, or not feel better. I would always try to make that person feel comfortable, or I wouldn't want to upset them. I don't want people to think I'm too bossy, like I don't want to hurt nobody's feelings. But these people are hurting my feelings. They don't care how I feel. They don't care that I'm upset or angry. They don't care if they're using me. I'm going about it the wrong way because here these people are not caring about me, just making sure that they are fulfilling what their interest is. And I feel really bad, all right? Because there's some women and some young ladies that are not afraid to speak up. They're not afraid to use their voice. So I'm trying to figure out what made me this way. What did I see growing up that made me feel ashamed, that I should be quiet, that I should be timid, that I shouldn't hurt anybody's feelings? What made me that way? Okay, so I do a lot of journaling. I actually figured it out. And it's because of having books like this that make me see things differently and actually make me work on myself and figuring out, my limitations. Like speaking up and using my voice, it's so outside of my character. I actually went to get my nails done, right? Not these. I went to get my nails done, and the way that they did them, I was normally, she left a lot of blue nail polish on the side. She took off my nail polish, and the lady left a lot of blue nail polish. Normally, I would just leave it, and then I would be like, oh, I'll just, when I get home, I'll just use a file and do it myself. Or if my nail is crooked, I'm like, well, it's really not that bad. I had already read the section in the book where, it talks about the power of your voice and how it's okay to make the other person uncomfortable. You have to make yourself comfortable first and use your voice and not be afraid to use your voice, even if it makes the other person uncomfortable. So the reason I would never speak up about my nails was because I didn't want to hurt the nail technician's feelings. I didn't want her to feel like she was not doing a good job. I was almost going to let it slide by and not say anything about my nails, but then I told her about it. I'm like, actually, there's still some blue nail polish here. And it made me feel a little uncomfortable because I was like, I'm over here telling her how to do her job. And I don't want to feel like I'm telling her how to do her job, right? But at the same time, I'm going to go home and feel really bad. I was going to say shitty. At the same time, I'm going to go home and hate myself because I'm like, girl, you should have spoken up. You should have told her your pain. What are you thinking? So I spoke up. I used my voice. I spoke up and I told her about my nails. The lesson for me there is that you can say no. No is a complete sentence. You don't have to explain why you're saying no. And you don't have to feel guilty for saying no. Okay, this is another major thing that I wanted to share with all of you guys that I got from the Warrior Goddess Training book. Practicing this meditation called Metta. Metta is loving kindness. It's practicing sending loving kindness energy to yourself and to other people. And this is why this was a big aha moment for me, because this is going to show you, if you practice this, it shows you compassion and it shows you how to be less judgmental of people, even the people that are, and not judgmental only, but even the people that are in your life that you don't necessarily like, that bring a lot of negativity. It shows you how to release those kind of emotions and not having any attachment to that, which was really big for me. You basically send a prayer to the person that you love the most. I send loving kindness to Isaac. My wish is that he experiences only love and happiness in his life. And then I like to add love, happiness, peace, all these wonderful things that I want my son to experience. And then I sit in that feeling that like I just am sending out to my son, like all these positive energies that I'm sending out to him, right? The next person is that you send that same type of energy, you send it to someone who is neutral, someone maybe like your neighbor. You don't love him, but you don't hate him either. He's just neutral, right? But you send that kind of energy, that same loving kindness energy that you sent to your son or to your most loved person in your life, you send it to your neighbor. And then you send that same energy to yourself. You send it to yourself, loving kindness, energy, love. And then the last one is sending that kind of energy towards somebody that you hate, that you don't like. The same kind of energy. And that's where it gets tricky, because I don't have people that I hate, but I do have people that I am not the most fond of because of whatever situation, right? So whatever people that you feel in your life that you have an energy towards them that is not positive, send that kind of energy to them also. And that's the energy that's going to make you feel uncomfortable, right? Because you're over here sending this loving kindness energy to somebody that you don't like, that makes you feel negative. You're sending that energy towards them, but you're sending them positive energy, because the energy that you send out, you are literally becoming that on a cellular level. Like your cells become the energy that you sent out. So that's why I understood now why if somebody is online on the computer and being judgmental, you're not judging me. Your energy, it's not judging me. You're becoming that energy. So the hatred that you spill out on the internet to whoever you direct it towards, it's becoming a part of you. And that's why it's so important to be so aware of these negative feelings, because they become a part of us. And that's why this is so amazing, because you're sending loving kindness to a lot of people, right? You're also sending it to yourself, and you're also becoming that energy. And it's not just about being aware of this meditation practice. It's more about putting it into place and actually just working on it. So the Warrior Goddess training book also comes with a companion book, which is really nice because you can go deeper into the chapters. For example, the metta loving kindness meditation practice, it goes deeper into here. I can't even find it right now, but it's a really great book because it's more of like hands-on, because you have to be hands-on with these things. You can't just read it and move on. You have to take action on these lessons if you feel like they apply to you. Thank you so much for being patient. Thank you for all the sweet words, the comments that you guys always leave in the comment section. I really appreciate that, and you guys know I love reading them. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Please make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.